Berth number 1, and this means that we can start receiving ships and cargo, and by July, berth number 2 will be ready, and by October of this year, the last berth, which is berth number 3, shall also be operational.
The head of state challenged area leaders to come up with strategies to woo investors to boost the region's economy and create jobs. He also emphasized the need to ensure local residents are prioritized in the gains made through the project.
Na mimi nasisitiza sana, sio ya kwamba tunafungia Wakenya wengine pia kuja kutafuta kazi. Tungependa kuona pia vijana wa Tana River waje wafanye kazi. Lakini nahimiza ya kwamba ningependa wale ambao watafaidika kwanza wawe vijana wa hapa Lamu ndio.
Denmark-based shipping giant Maersk ship MV Cap Camel en route to Salalah in Oman from Dar es Salaam was the first commercial vessel to dock during the launch, signaling the beginning of business, followed by MV Siego Bremen-Haven loaded with avocado from Mombasa Port. Earlier, the head of state officially launched the 114-kilometer Garsen-Witu-Lamu road, which is expected to, among other things, ensure swift transportation of cargo from the port of Lamu. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Safin Aching Oma.
And more analysis on what exactly it means for the regional transshipment business for the Lamu port. We'll be looking at more details during business news segment. A consortium of civil society organizations is calling on the Auditor General to conduct an audit of alleged use of public resources in the Building Bridges initiative and surcharge those found culpable. The civil activists pegged their call on last week's High Court ruling that declared as an unconstitutional attempt to amend the Constitution through the BBI.
The 15 civil society organizations, some involved in the petition that culminated into the annulment of a BBI process, want all government officials who allegedly used public resources to popularize the BBI surcharged.
Based on this, it is clear that Kenyans have lost public resources, taxpayers' monies, on a process that has already been declared unconstitutional and illegal. We ask that the Auditor General immediately and expeditiously conducts an audit of all public resources, both monetary and non-monetary resources that have been utilized in the BBI process from its inception to date, including the sources.
The consortium condemned the criticism directed at the 5-judge bench that annulled the BBI process, terming it a smear campaign meant to dent the credibility of the judiciary.
You are sending wrong picture to the people. You are sending wrong picture to the whole world. That we have judiciary that it's there working for certain people, mafia thing, and this is wrong. It is wrong. It is very dangerous, and it should not be repeated.
Tukiachilia kwamba mahakama zetu zinyimwe fedha, zipigwe vita, sisi kwisha.
They also want Parliament to enact public participation legislation to define the parameters qualifying public participation, as pointed out by the 5 High Court judges.
That all future initiatives requiring public participation should adhere to the rule of law, to the laws of Kenya, and to established jurisprudence and best practices.
Meanwhile, the Maendeleo Chap party has also criticized the judgment, accusing the judges of relying on technicalities to arrive at their decision. Party leader Alfred Mutua wants that the country risks losing key benefits envisaged in the bill.
This is momentous for our country. And tell our people that the BBI is not overhauling the constitution and giving us a new constitution. No, we are just amending sections, and amendments are okay.
And Bahati MP Kimani wants Speaker Justin Muturi to ignore attempts of installing him as a Mount Kenya political kingpin this coming weekend. Ngunjiri accuses policy and governance expert Professor Peter Kagwanja, who is believed to spearhead Muturi's coronation, of being behind what he terms as dubious plans to undermine the president in the region.
Let me tell you, my brother Muturi, you are my good speaker, umemaliza miaka yako, maliza good finishing here 10 years. We want you can be running it, you can be anything in this country. I agree with that. but not with the elders. Wale nimekuona ukiwa nao na Kagwanja.
This comes even as Kikuyu Council of Elders continue to disagree on whether Muturi should be installed, with factions pulling in different sides.
Kama wengine apatii yao heshima, yetu tunaipatia heshima, na mtu akijaribu kwenda pale atapatwa na mambo mabaya sana.
Mlima wa Mount Kenya ni moja. Na huo mlima wa Mount Kenya kiongozi wetu ni Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta.
I am ready. I'm ready for the advice that will be given by the elders. I'm ready to carry on with whatever responsibilities that the elders will bestow on me.
Deputy President William Ruto held consultations with political, business and professional leaders from Busia, Bungoma, Vihiga and Kakamega counties to develop a framework of economic engagement. Speaking at his current residence, the Deputy President said the framework will form the basis of an accountable agreement ahead of next year's general election.
Let us move this country away from the politics of ethnicity, from division, and let us have a clear plan on how we want to move Kenya to the next level. Our agenda is to ensure that we create jobs for those who don't have jobs. We ensure that we support those who can do business, decriminalize the business environment, and make sure that there is government support to support enterprise. We also ensure that our farmers across the country are planting the right crops, getting the right advice, getting the right financing, getting the correct returns, and accessing the correct markets.
And the government has launched an intensive polio immunization campaign in 13 counties following confirmation of 6 polio cases in the country. The campaign, which kicks off this Friday, targets 3.4 million children of up to 5 years of age.
The 6 cases of polio confirmed in February this year in Mombasa and Garissa counties by the Ministry of Health has necessitated the government plan to conduct emergency polio campaigns in line with Global Polio Eradication Initiative. Director of Public Health Francis Kuria says the campaign targets 3.4 million children and will be rolled out in 13 counties identified as high risk.
When we succeed in eradicating polio, no child, parent or caregiver will ever suffer the pain of polio paralysis.
We look out for any child with weakness, sudden weakness in one of the legs or one of the arms or both, routinely.
The counties are Mandera, Isiolo, Wajir, Garissa, Lamu, Tana River, Kilifi, Mombasa, Kitui, Machakos, Kajiado, Kiambu and Nairobi.
During the polio outbreak that occurred in Garissa County in 2013, 14 people were paralyzed by polio and another 2 died following complications arising from the disease.
In terms of the immunization performance, or in terms of us arriving at these 12 counties, which we are targeting, one, it is a process where we continuously monitor the performance of these counties.
The campaign, which will be in 2 phases, will officially commence from Friday, the 22nd of May 2021, and will run till the 26th of June 2021. Dr. Kuria lauded the media for highlighting and sensitizing members of the public on the importance of the vaccination.
We accredit most of this to the 4th estate. You've been there with us, I think, since 28th February, every day, Sunday and Saturday and Sunday included, as we do our press briefings. And we spread the gospel so nicely, so well.
So getting a disease from polio when you've been vaccinated properly is very unlikely. And by the same token, the adult is less likely.
He further called on parents and other stakeholders to expedite the campaign to ensure all children below 5 years get vaccinated against polio. In the meantime, Dr. Kuria says the government will take necessary actions, including enforcing the Public Health Act, to ensure all children enjoy this fundamental right. He assured members of the public that all the vaccines administered by the government are safe.
Remains one of the serious illnesses which not only causes paralysis and disability, but can also kill.
Cases of polio around the world has reduced significantly by over 99% since 1988, from an estimated 350,000 cases. Kenya, being a member state of the World Health Assembly, which is the decision-making body of the World Health Organization, has endeavored to spearhead a campaign to eradicate polio in all the 47 counties amid numerous challenges ranging from misconception from the members of the public about the efficacy of the vaccines offered by the government. Timothy Kipnosu, Channel 1 News.
On now to COVID update, where the Ministry of Health says Kenya is set to receive 130,000 doses of AstraZeneca vaccine from the Democratic Republic of Congo. The vaccines are part of a sharing program between African countries under the COVAX facility. The Ministry of Health says plans are already underway to start administering the second dose of the vaccine towards the end of next week. Nancy Okware spoke to the chairman of the COVID-19 vaccine task force, Dr. Willis Akwale, and filed the following report.
On Friday, a consignment of the much-needed COVID-19 vaccine will arrive in Kenya to offset the country's second round of vaccination against the global pandemic. The 130,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine are being shipped from the Democratic Republic of Congo. The chairman of the COVID-19 vaccine task force, Dr. Willis Akwale, says the vaccines are being shared under the inter-country sharing program being spearheaded by the COVAX facility.
The Democratic Republic of Congo has donated to us or shared with us 130,000 doses that were supplied to them by COVAX of the AstraZeneca vaccine. We are expecting them in the country tomorrow.
Akwali said the vaccination drive will begin next week.
And we'll then start preparing to start giving the second dose as we come to the end of next week and as we go to the first week of June. Everybody who was vaccinated during the month of March will be eligible for the second dose. Because many of them will have already attained or about to attain 12 weeks. Some may be at 11 and some may be at 10.
But how did DRC, a country whose population desperately needs the vaccine, decide to share the jab with Kenya?
Within the African continent, some countries are having challenges to get their vaccines used. There could be logistical challenges. It could be to do with issues of hesitancy. So they are sharing with countries which are utilizing their vaccines. So we in Kenya, those who are unable to use, we are telling them, for us here, we know the value of the vaccinations. Acceptance has been very high. We can utilize those vaccinations before they expire.
So far, Kenya has vaccinated close to 1 million people with the first dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine, with the government hoping to procure more vaccines, such as the Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer, in a bid to inoculate more people.
We're making it very clear that we have already committed to procure 30 million doses of Johnson & Johnson. And we are really at very advanced stages to get this done. And we expect the first doses of Johnson & Johnson here in August. And now our plan is to vaccinate the entire adult population by end of June next year.
The development coming as 494 more people tested positive for COVID-19 out of 6,428 samples tested in the last 24 hours. The figures represent a 7.7% positivity rate. 5 more people also lost their lives, taking the country's total number of fatalities to 3,040. The Ministry of Health says 50 more patients have made full recovery from the disease. With Kenya set to receive more doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine, the Ministry of Health says that those who received their first dose in March will start receiving their second dose towards the end of next week. Nancy Okware, Channel 1 News.
Elsewhere, Garissa OCS Michael Munyalo has been remanded for 10 days over the shooting of a 28-year-old man at a bar in Garissa town. Moses Kimani, a boda operator, was shot on Sunday and later died, sparking protest by other boda operators who took to the streets accusing the police of trying to shield one of their own in the incident.
Munyalo was arrested on Wednesday and spent the night at the neighboring Madogo police station. Munyalo, through his defense counsel, Christopher Nzili, opposed the detention, refuting claims that he was a flight risk. The court denied the accused bail and instead directed that he be remanded at the Madogo police station for 10 days pending investigations. Munyalo is accused of shooting a 28-year-old boda operator on Sunday.
Having taken over this matter yesterday, and the fact that the respondent has continued to be in the office since the date of the alleged incident, and for the reasons given in the affidavit, I am inclined to grant the applicant 10 days to complete investigations.
Elsewhere, an elderly woman in Eldoret is living in fear after unknown people attacked her at night and killed her livestock. Mary Justa Chepleting says she has had a land row with an investor whom she says has been invading the land. She says the court barred the investor from engaging in any kind of activity on the land, a decision that has led to the unending attacks.
Nasikia waliuza hii mchanga kuuzia Chinese. Na sikuweza kustop, na ingawa nilienda kuripoti kama leo vile nimereport threat to my life. Police walikuja jana usiku. These are the things they have been doing. They destroyed this place. Waliuzia Chinese wakitengeneza barabara. Na sasa nalilia hata serikali waone kama wanaweza kustopisha huyu mtu kuninyang'anya shamba.
She now wants relevant authorities to protect her and her property, saying she's living in agony of losing her property and her life. Beatrice Getonyang-Etich, Channel 1 News.
You're watching Business Insight live from Broadcasting House. Remember the big interview on domestic tourism, actually the impact of COVID-19 on domestic tourism, is coming up next after the break. Stay right here.
Je, umeomoka? Kama hujaomoka kwenye QuickBin ndio mambo yote. Hapa tuko na fridge, kodi yake ni CM. Tuko na gas cooker, kodi yake ni CK. Tuko na TV, kodi yake ni TV. Tuko na simu aina ya Samsung ni SM, ama Oppo ni Oppo. My friend, mahali popote unanitizama, eka hizo kodi zake kisha utume kwa 4032353. 4032353, alafu utakuwa unaomoka na hizi bidhaa. Kumbuka, kwenye QuickBin ni bidhaa bora zaidi kwa bei ya chini kwa chini.
Next on,
Laurentia is already dead, and nothing is going to change that.
Lucio, get out of here. Go upstairs.
Do you think he hurt us?
I don't really know. And at this point, I don't even care.
All those lies to Max. Oh, Caro. I've hurt him so much.
Well, that was the objective. You had to disappoint him, didn't you?
Yes.
just who is this man who made you doubt the love you have for me? Who? Next on.
Kama tufikiri pesa uonge kwa hivyo huko, hii shati iliteremka kutoka binguni kakupata kwa mwili.
Wewe mama unamkuza mchungaji? Wacha nikuambie. Biblia inasema tunatingisha huu chafu na
katingishia huko.
Nasema hivi, umekuwa ukilia usiku na mchana. Unataka mtu karibu na wewe. You need company, my sister. This is time for your breakthrough.
Hebu let me go. Ni nini wewe?
Tufungulie, mlale.
Kwani hapa ni kwako?
Tufungue.
Hebu, unaenda wapi?
Si kwangu.
Kwani hapa ni kwako? Nakuulizaje, hapa ni kwako?
Kwa si bibi yangu.
Nani bibi yako?
Huo ni ungwana.
My baby, replay, playing my favorite tune. Oh, yeah, chance I'm ready, your love.
kukupa burudani.
Na umbea, yani stories zinazo trend kwenye mitandao ya kijamii.
Interview kali za wasanii wapendao.
Ndani ya March of Life kupitia KBC Channel 1 na Pwani FM.
Kuanzia mida ya saa 3 mpaka mida ya 5 kamili asubuhi. Ukiwa nami ni Teken 1GB.
Mimi ni Marco. Keep it locked.
Did you know that the policy document is evidence of the existence of an insurance contract between you and your insurance company? It is important to know the terms and conditions of your insurance policy. Make sure you obtain, read, and understand the terms and conditions of the policy document. Now you know. IRA, promoting insurance, protecting the insured.
Welcome back. A Form 1 student from Butere Girls School in Kakamega County has reportedly gone missing. The school administration says Maureen Nzilani never returned with her colleagues after attending church service last Saturday. And in Kajiado, a family is looking for a 47-year-old man who left the Kitengela homestead last Wednesday, never to come back.
According to the school management, Maureen Nzilani was in the company of other Christian Union students who had gone to attend prayers in a nearby church. She never returned. Her mother, Miriam Mutua, who has been making frequent trips to Butere police station for the past 5 days, says Maureen, who was supposed to be in school, called her saying she was in Mumias town and later disconnected the call.
Mara ya mwisho alionekana Mumias. Alinipigia simu on Sunday. Saa 1:30. Akaniambia, "Mom, nasikia vibaya."
The mother then called the class teacher to inform him about the unexpected call.
Nikapigia class teacher wake simu. Nikamwambia, "Unajua Maureen hayuko shule." Akaniambia alipigiwa simu saa 4 ya usiku. Akajulishwa Maureen hayuko shule.
The matter has since been reported to the police station and investigations are underway. The family is appealing to anyone with information on the whereabouts of Maureen to report to the nearest police station or to the school.
Mwenye ataona huyo mtoto watu itanie tupate kupata huyo mtoto. Ni mfupi, ni mweusi, rangi ya kunde, na anashikanga nywele hivi katikati.
And in Kitengela, Kajiado County, 47-year-old Vincent Kishagi is said to have left the house last Wednesday but has never returned.
We realized that he's not coming back, so we've been looking for him since Wednesday, and he hasn't come back yet.
According to the sister Rosalind Misati, Victor has a medical condition that is on and off and which sometimes hinders his ability to express himself.
So sometimes he's not able to express himself very well, and is not able to know where he is.
Anyone with information about Victor's whereabouts can reach the family on 0733 586 474 or 0745 538 202. Also, her husband is looking for his wife that went missing Thursday last week. Kimorgo Emmanuel says he last spoke to his wife Thursday morning when she said she's going back to their home in the Laini Saba area of Kibera.
Tumemtafuta kila mahali na kwa kweli hatujafanikiwa kumpata. Kwa polisi tumeenda pia kwa mahali miili zinahifadhiwa na pia tumeenda hospitalini na kwa kweli hatujafanikiwa kumpata.
Emmanuel and his missing wife Alvinza Chepkoech have been married for 6 years. The husband says the pain of not seeing her haunts him each day.
Maana mtu ambaye unampenda ukikosa kumjua mahali yako kwa kweli inakuwa ni uchungu sana.
If you happen to see Alvinza, please contact the family on 0725 575 735 or 0729 839 728. Yusufar, Channel 1 News.
Now for business news, where the newly commissioned Lamu Port is driving Kenya's agricultural volumes to international markets. President Uhuru Kenyatta is urging the pastoralist communities and players in the livestock value chain to take advantage of the new port and produce high-quality livestock products for export.
In its master plan, the Kenya Transport and Logistics Network has earmarked strengthening of the agriculture value chain as key in its operations. The network has procured livestock wagons to ferry animals from northern parts of Kenya and southern Ethiopia via road to Nyanyuki, then to the Kenya Meat Commission using the refurbished meter gauge rail, and finally the coast using the standard gauge railway for export. To show up the country's agricultural exports, President Uhuru Kenyatta is urging pastoralists to take advantage of the Lamu port and produce high-quality livestock.
Ni biashara kwa wenzetu wa Lamu, lakini hiyo pia ni nafasi ya wenzetu wa Garissa, wenzetu wa Mandera, wenzetu wa Samburu, wenzetu wa Laikipia kusafirisha ng'ombe zao, zinakuja zinapokea hapa, wanaenda kuuza huko nchi za nje.
President Kenyatta says the Lamu port will unlock market for Kenyan produce.
The port is strategically located at the middle of major shipping routes, and therefore its operationalization will enable us to begin and to realize long-cherished goals of opening up northern Kenya to international trade.
Currently, Kenya exports livestock products to, among others, Qatar and other Middle East countries. This as Kakuzi became the first company to export avocados through the Lamu port. The company loaded 80 tons of first avocados variety to the MV Sego, one of the two inaugural ships that called on the port of Lamu on Thursday. Once complete, Lamu port will be the largest facility in sub-Saharan region and is expected to increase the country's export volume due to its ability to hold larger ships. Benson Riopa reporting for Channel 1 Business.
Manufacturers, hospitals and clinical laboratories have been asked to regularly calibrate medical equipment to reduce device-related errors in a bid to enhance patient care and safety in the country. Kenya Bureau of Standards Managing Director Bernard Jiraine is calling on those in the healthcare sector to collaborate with the standards body in ensuring that medical equipment are regularly calibrated.
According to the World Health Organization, 4 out of 10 patients are harmed in primary and outpatient healthcare facilities, with most errors relating to diagnosis, prescription, and the use of medicines. It is also estimated that up to 80% of this harm is preventable.
As Kenya Bureau of Standards, we talk about measurements, and we want to say that once measured, it gives you the accuracy. It gives you the confidence that you have, that what you are measuring is correct. Calibration gives you that confidence.
Kenya Bureau of Standards Managing Director Bernard Jiraine says if a patient's physiological, biochemical, physical, and other parameters were not accurately measured, the resulting decision on treatment therapy based on false tests could severely jeopardize their life. Going forward, he says all medical equipment used in health institutions must be accurately standardized to ensure the highest degree of quality control and patient protection.
So it's very important that as a hospital, you check the performance of your instrument through calibration. We work with some of the major hospitals like MTRH, Kenyatta National Hospital, and they have set up their own in-house calibration facility, which helps them to do calibration anytime they want and how many times they want.
Speaking during the World Metrology Day celebrations, he said metrology has contributed in the development of 16 technical standards to bolster local manufacturing of masks and ventilators used in the fight against COVID-19. Regina Manyara reporting for Channel 1 Business.
Do you like artifacts and curios? Well, handcraft traders say they are relying on you for their survival after COVID-19 travel restrictions and disruptions wiped away their traditional foreign clientele. Our reporter Alan Aoko visited the traders at Maasai Market here in Nairobi County to find out measures they are employing to keep their business afloat.
Kenya, a country famed for its multitude of attractions. Part of these attractions reside in its capital, Nairobi City. Some of the dwellers here have survived on dreams and opportunities that have been brought about by the country's hospitality industry. However, the hospitality industry, which is one of Kenya's top foreign exchange earners, was severely affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. This means places like the famous Masai Market in Nairobi that heavily relies on tourists from abroad were especially hard hit by the scourge. Meet David Mudhama, aka Simba, one of the traders at Nairobi's Masai Market. He says he has been in the industry for 15 years but has never experienced disruptions of this magnitude.
Kabla ya corona, siku mzuri ya market day ilikuwa naweza uza kama hata 10k, lakini kwa saa hii kuraise hata 3 inakuwa ni shida na inabidi hata imeteremsha bei yangu ya mizigo.
Simba, like many other small traders in Kenya who rely on foreign tourists, have been forced to rethink their market and tailor their products too.
Mwaka huu tukaona tukuje tupange tutafutie watoto watu waliteseka kwa sababu hatuna mahali tunauza hii vitu.
Tunafanyanga biashara ya mikono. Sisi ni watu wa kutengeneza biashara na mikono yetu. Na tunategemeanga watalii kutoka nchi zote za nje, Afrika, Europe, Germany, kila nchi zote za nje, kwa sababu vitu zetu zile ambazo tunauza ni vitu ambazo ni za foreigners za utalii.
Mostly tunategemea tourists, but imefika mahali hata sasa local tourists ndio tunategemea zaidi.
The Masai Market adopted a roving business model, allowing them to sell their wares at various spots in the city, where significant foreign and occasional local foot traffic frequent. The traders are now calling on Kenyans to increase purchase of locally made goods to help them survive during this pandemic.
Katika hali ya tourism, ni sehemu moja ambayo naweza kusema ni backbone ya economy ya nchi yetu ya Kenya. Na sisi tuko katika sehemu ya tourist. Na wakati tunapoafektiwa namna hii, unakuta ya kwamba serikali nayo imeafektiwa. Sana sana sisi wanabiashara ambao wanajifanyia kazi na mikono yao tuweze kukumbukwa.
The scenes around me about the handcrafts that you see here are not new to you. In fact, this is well known globally as a place of getting unique handcrafts. But this story has to be told, and it is not something that can just be told once, of the impact of COVID-19 on small businesses like this one. Alan Aoko, Channel 1 Business, Nairobi.
A very sad state of affairs. Tourism industry, but of course the world is starting to see now some lights at the end of the tunnel, with the number of vaccinated people actually going up. And now we're talking about almost 1 billion people having received the vaccination jab, and this is giving hope to the fact that many businesses are likely to resume, and actually most economies in Europe as well as South America are now opening their economies. And the question is this: with about 1 million vaccination here in Kenya, what is the way forward? And is this going to help the recovery of the tourism sector? Joining us tonight is Simon Kabu. He's the managing director or CEO of Bonfire Adventures, one of the leading domestic travel and tourism companies in the country. Thank you so very much indeed, Kabu, for joining us. I mean, it's not a hidden secret that one of the hardest hit sectors by the COVID-19 pandemic was tourism. And 15 months now into the pandemic, what is the state of the sector as we stand?
Thanks so much, Brian. Yes, hospitality as a whole is the sector that is the most hit by this COVID. And most of hospitality sector, maybe be it hotels, be it tours and travel, be it the tour guides, all that, we have been hit maybe over 90%. And that's how serious it is. Yes, we like our company, Bonfire Adventures, we rely a lot with domestic tourism. Apart from people traveling here and there, we have gotten some few lockdowns here and there in the station of Bombay that affect us big time. Because sometimes as we progress to at least to things to be better, then after that there's a curfew or a lockdown, so it affects us a lot. We know at least the scourge is there and it's affecting everyone. So, but we like at least to ask the concerned the concerned government, at least to be able to look at the way our people can be able to travel, maybe with a negative PCR or with as people get vaccinated, we are sure things will get better. But there's that again, the liquidity that has affected our people or our client, where even if people want to travel, people are ready to travel, but there are a lot of lockdowns going outside the then again, the places that the session has happened, you find sometimes you cannot travel to Mombasa. Like last month, we had a lot of clients, then there was a lockdown. So there's a lot of facts that affect us, including the transport, our tour guides, including us, and it has affected a lot. In fact, most tours and travel companies now are closed. Some are, because they are not able to operate. Yes.
No, you see, during the peak of the pandemic, and I'm talking about the period between April last year all the way up to around October last year. I mean, the industry was completely down. I mean, almost to 100%. But now we have seen some easing of restrictions in terms of travel, as well as the reopening of many sectors of the economy. To what percentage is now the domestic tourism affected?
Last year, April, from March to August, that's the time we were on total lockdown, when we closed our offices and our people went home and we could not do anything. But that particular time, I think we had maybe some few coins that we had been able to save earlier on, so that we used that all our savings. And after that, now when we opened here and there, we tried to hustle domestic here and there. Domestic tourism, it's better than the inbound, but between 70 and 80%, that's how we have been affected on domestic tourism. Because even if you travel and you go to hotels in Mombasa or wherever you go, you find sometimes, like now, I remember this year, it was just closed just before Easter. And Easter, we had a lot of bookings as Bonfire Adventures. We had charters going to Mombasa. We had charters going to Dubai. All that, and clients had paid. So we had to ask the client, please do not request for the refund. Your money is safe. Please will travel later. Some are able to hear that and at least sympathize with us as the hospitality sector and hold that. But because we told them we had already paid the hotel, we had paid for airline, and that money is not going to be refunded to us. It's only the creditor that will be able to get. So that closure, opening, closure, it has affected us a lot. So over 70-80% of domestic business is affected. Yes.
You see, when the pandemic actually stuck at the board, I mean, the whole point was, first of all, to save lives. And the World Health Organization was urging people, hey, look here, you can stop your travel and travel at the right time when the curve will flatten. Now there is some resemblance of normalcy that is coming back. What are the prospects?
We expect now. Okay, what happened after this? When COVID started, we thought it was just a short time thing. That's what was in our mind. But we have come to realize that it has taken long, and maybe it might not end that fast as we expected. So I think the prospect is, as people get vaccinated, people are getting more relaxed, and again, staying home or staying locked down for over a year, there's that fatigue that people get. So people got into that and say, now we want to travel. When the cessation was opened up, people traveled for a short time and traveled quite a lot. But now, as we see vaccination happening, we expect now things to start opening up. And again, we expect Kenyans to be able to travel, but we still have one challenge. Most people have been either affected or infected with COVID-related issues where the liquidity is a little bit low. So people don't have that liquid cash to travel as much as they used to travel. The businesses have been affected. So you find those people who are in business, their business have affected. Those people who are employed, maybe they're on half or no wage or no. So that has affected us a lot because people expect a holiday not to be a basic need. People start with food, but again, with that fatigue, people feel we need to move out of the house. We need to move out of where we are, be able at least to travel and venture out of where we are. Yes.
We have seen a situation whereby countries are reopening the economies to international visitors, but there is a requirement that one must have a negative PRC test certificate. And when you look at our situation here, you have less than 1 million people who have been vaccinated. How is this likely to impede on your first recovery as a sector?
Yes, the lesser people who are vaccinated, the more it will affect us as far as the tourism is concerned. Even for people coming from out of where they are coming from, they'll only have confidence in our country when more people are affected because of, I'm sure there'll be some interaction here and there. So they'll only be confident to visit Kenya when more people are vaccinated. So that's a challenge to all of us. It's good for us to follow the EBUH protocol, sanitize, the 1.5, wash your hands. It's important so that we're able to, this to lower the curve. And that will be able to affect our tourism. If you travel somewhere in a hotel, we are normally very careful even now. If you see people not wearing masks, we ask, why are you guys not wearing masks? Everyone needs to take this as a responsibility because if you don't take care of yourself, you'll affect your neighbor, your friend, your loved one, and that will affect, the boomerang effect will be there, and that will be able to affect the tourism, whether it's domestic or international. Yes.
So, and when you look at, the recovery trend, are you seeing a situation whereby people are taking to the parks, to the beaches, and even to hotels? Where is the demand likely to be coming from?
When there's cessation, for example, when there's cessation, people cannot travel out of Nairobi. We do a lot of staycation within the city. We do a lot of Nairobi National Park and hotels that are around this area. But when it opens up, people want to travel like to Masai Mara, to Samburu, to Mombasa, and coast, that means Diani, Mombasa, and Malindi, Watamu. But it takes time for us to be able to convince the client that a place is safe. You see, we're able to listen to the news and what the Ministry of Health is saying, according to whether there's an area that is a red spot, and people shy away from traveling to that area. But O'Brien, like internationally, there are some 3 or 4 places that have been opened right now. Dubai is open. Turkey was open, but now when there was a spark, they locked down again. And with UK having the travel ban to people from Kenya, it's quite affected us a lot because we work a lot with the European countries, so that has affected us a lot. But with time, we expect when people get on being vaccinated, it will affect us. And maybe as we go on, we could ask maybe if you can Kenyans can be able to get maybe some holiday reliefs, where you can travel and get money from. That money you can claim it from tax, and to be able to at least push Kenyans to visit Kenya as a destination. Yes.
And you take me back to the year 2016 when government issued such tax reliefs on people willing to take this vacations and people willing to spend their money on tourism facilities. We didn't see so much reactions out of these. And the question is this, I mean, if, for example, if the National Treasury was to give such tax holidays, you know, on staycations and vacations and so much, are you convinced that people would take up this challenge?
Very much. What happens is that maybe that was the first time it was being on trial. People didn't know how it would work, but now people would take it in a very serious way, and that again will increase the tax bracket of people who are to pay so that they're able to travel. You see, they just travel, pay a little, and the other one they spend it on that will affect and bring the foreign exchange to the country.
You are talking about, you know, the United Kingdom, which is the third largest source of tourism or visitors to Kenya. And we saw last month Kenya being added into a list of countries where visitors or people who have gone through the country are not welcome to enter the UK. How has this affected you as an industry?
It affects us because, you know, the world is a global village. When there's a place where there's a lockdown, you find that all people have been refused to enter, or when the people pass through somewhere there's a limitation on, you find that people are not able to travel, and there's that limitation of travel. So it affects UK being one of our biggest supplier of people as international tourists, and we have a lot of Kenyans who are in diaspora. You know, UK, Heathrow being the hub of where people travel. You find that when people pass there and they come or they go, it becomes an issue. So people shy away from at least when they're accessing that place. So people will shy away from accessing coming to Kenya or vice versa. So it affects us a lot because of tourism, either international or domestic, or Kenyans who are abroad and they want to visit their country. Yes.
Look, your business, you know, has three aspects. Foreigners who are willing to visit Kenya, Kenyans who are willing to visit, you know, foreign countries, and of course Kenyans who are willing to visit or who plans to or who would want to visit the domestic facilities. Have you seen a recovery in either of the three?
Yes, maybe the only recovery that has been there a little is the domestic tourism. Kenyans who are trying to visit within. The Kenyans who are trying to visit outside the country, the challenge is that most places are not open. And again, the places that are open have a lot of limitations. Like when we have, like, Dubai has a lot of limitations as far as visas are concerned, not like before. Then places like Turkey, which were open, Egypt was open at one particular time. You see what is happening like now in India, all those places. So Kenyans going outside the country are not able to travel. The Kenyans who are within are willing to travel, but sometimes they face challenges, either liquidity challenge, or they're not able to travel when they want because of the issue of lockdowns now and then. You see, that affects us quite a lot. Yes.
And the other thing, of course, is you know, the issue of conference tourism. Any signs that things are starting to look up?
Conference tourism, yes, because people have stayed for quite some time without having to do conference. From March last year to maybe this year, like for 1 year, people have not done conference. Zoom and the other digital conferencing has come, and people have been able to see that now we can do our meetings on Zoom. So that has affected the miles, whatever we call the miles, a lot. But people right now are warming up again after vaccination and after at least the COVID scourge gone down. People want warming up to do more conferencing, physical, and I think it's improving quite a lot, but it will take some time as people get vaccinated. Yes.
And you know, having a situation whereby a lot of people would want to hold, their conference meetings in hotels is one thing, and having facilities that are ready and open to host visitors is another thing. Are you finding yourself in a situation whereby, yes, there are people who are willing to host conferences, but where they would host these conferences, they close down?
Yes, there are some hotels that have not opened up since that particular time, but we have come up with some ingenious ways of working out things, because before we are doing a lot of indoor conferencing. Right now we are doing the outdoor conferencing because of the aeration. Then where at least where we could have a conference handling maybe 500 people. Right now we are having conference having 200 people because of the social distance and the sitting arrangement. All that, at least people, we have to look for a way to ingenious work around things. Before this, our vehicles, Land Cruisers, were having 8 people. Right now we are doing 6 people, so that everyone has their own space. All that, and we have sanitizers in our vehicles. You see, our guides, every time periodically we test them, and that has helped to bring a lot of confidence to our clients. Yes.
And you're talking about, even because of the social distance aspect, so you find that even the cost of travel is likely to come up or to go up. Have you been forced to raise the cost of your product in a bid to remain afloat?
What I think we have done, because again it's a catch-22 situation. This is a time not to raise your product, your price, because people don't have that money to travel, and money is not enough. What we have done is that we have as stakeholders, that is hotel, the transport, all that. The cost has remained or come down, so it means that people are barely surviving. The margins have been put to the bare minimum, some not even, at that point that we just want to maintain. So the prices might not have gone up, but it does not mean that it should not have gone up. It's because we don't have a choice, and we are operating, all stakeholders, including the hotels, including the transport, including the tour and stuff company, operating at the bare minimum, because we just want to keep things running.
Very well. Yes. Well, I have to let you go in the interest of time, but thank you very much. We're looking forward for the full recovery of the tourism sector, bearing in mind that it's one of the biggest contributors to Kenya's gross domestic product at about 9 or 10%, depending on the year that you're looking at. Yeah. Otherwise, thank you very much indeed for finding time to be with us.
Yes, I
appreciate it. Well, Simon Kabu is the CEO and founder of Bonfire Adventures, a company that specializes in domestic as well as international tourism, joining us here to help us understand how is the industry coping with the new normal. And you have heard it from him. You're watching Business Insight. We are taking a short break, and thereafter we are back with more stories.
Kupata skiza tune hii curfew, dial star 811 star 816 hash.
Wewe, nitarutisha simu yako tu sahi. Nakimbia mbio, nimetolewa mbio. Unajua curfew ile nipata kwa njia. Nimepita kwa ratibu kama risasi kuliko hata risasi mbio. Lakini sasa niko karibu nyumbani bwana. Nitakupiga nikifika nyumbani. Wewe unajua curfew sitaki polisi wanishike. Nitarudi nitakupiga.
Ili kupata skiza tune hiyo ya curfew, dial star 811 star 816 hash, star 811 star 816 hash.
Je, umeomoka? Kama hujaomoka kwenye QuickBid ndio mambo yote. Hapa tuko na fridge, kodi yake ni CM. Tuko na gas cooker, kodi yake ni CK. Tuko na TV, kodi yake ni TV. Tuko na simu aina ya Samsung ni SM, ama Oppo ni Oppo. My friend, mahali popote unanitizama, eka hizo kodi zake kisha utume kwa 4032353. 4032353, alafu utakuwa unaomoka na hizi bidhaa. Kumbuka, kwenye Quickbit ni bidhaa bora zaidi kwa bei ya chini kwa chini.
On the next episode of Little Daddy.
Your son has quite an imagination. Okay, everyone, let's continue our class.
Mum, what's the matter? He's been out all day, he's tired. Let him go home to rest.
You can wait. I've got something important to ask him. Come on in.
Never ever say I'm a superhero again. Do you hear me?
Why not?
Stop asking why, kiddo. Just do as I say.
Why not?
Because I'm your father!
This proves you don't know me.
All right, then, you tell me. What kind of woman do you really want?
Welcome back. 748 Air Services has commenced 2 daily flights between Nairobi and Kisumu in its expansion of domestic passenger services in the country. This will be the second route that the low-cost carrier will be operating as it continues with its diversification strategy from humanitarian services.
While international travel remains subdued, albeit a slow recovery and threats by COVID-19 variants, domestic travel has shown resilience. Kenya has seen a spike in domestic travel as people pursue holidays and business opportunities previously hindered by pandemic. Now 748 Air Services become the latest carrier to venture into the Kisumu-Nairobi route.
We believe, COVID or no COVID, this is only for some time. Flying is there, and flying will be the real ideal thing to do, to conduct business. So we have a lot of hope, and when we start with these flights, we look at the long term sustainability. We worked our numbers, and we know it is going to work.
And we have seen the airport grow in leaps and bounds in terms of the craft that come here, and now we are just waiting for the next phase of having cargo handling and the cooling plant here, and the expansion of the Kisumu arrivals to truly become an international airport in time for our facilities next year.
The Kisumu route is the second destination after the Nairobi-Masai route launched in last quarter of 2020 as the carrier diversifies to passenger services from humanitarian and cargo businesses.
Together with the county of Kisumu, together with Professor Nyang, we are constructing a stadium here in Kisumu, and my colleagues have been coming in and out of Kisumu County to just make sure that that program is on track, and we are very, very honored that in fact come 1st of June, our country will see how ready Kisumu County is to host national, regional, and by April of next year, international events.
The airline was forced to convert some of its passenger planes to freighters last year when COVID-19 disrupted passenger services.
We appreciate the difficulty, we appreciate the traffic. We also hope and plan for the future. And we're hoping that once the road constructions are done, and we have the highway open, Jomo will be as accessible as Wilson or even.
The airline plans to launch 3 routes to Eldoret, Diani and Lamu this year.
Well, newly introduced digital service tax would only be payable by non-resident persons doing online sales to Kenyans if the draft Finance Bill 2021 come into effect as proposed. The National Treasury is proposing that the digital services tax be only applicable to non-residents from January next year.
In the draft Finance Bill 2021, a few new taxes have been introduced in contrast to last year when a raft of new taxes, including turnover taxes, minimum tax and the digital service tax were proposed. The digital tax service, which came into effect in January this year, is charged at 1.5% on income generated through digital transactions. Due to the growing number of business transactions being carried out online, the Finance Bill 2021 seeks to further tax the digital marketplace. The bill has attempted to clarify the scope of the digital service tax that was introduced in last year's Finance Bill. The bill proposes to expand the charging section of the Income Tax Act to include income accruing from an online business or an electronic network in addition to income accruing through a digital marketplace. Speaking via webinar, tax experts from PricewaterhouseCoopers said this amendment seeks to widen the tax bracket to include other online businesses that would not constitute a digital marketplace. This proposal, if passed, will bring into ambit the income tax multiple businesses that are conducted through the internet without employing online platforms. This includes merchants who use social media platforms to market their products and services and generate income from such an activity. The Finance Bill 2021 further proposes that the digital service tax only be payable by non-resident persons doing online sales to Kenyans. The tax experts say the provision will offer relief to Kenyans who are already subject to tax on the income that they derive from the digital platforms.
Well, farmers in the macadamia and passion fruit value chain are set to be trained on the best crop husbandry through financing from the European Union. Anthony Nyaga, a phytologist at the Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization, says the 474 million shillings European Union funded program targets to improve the quality of macadamia and passion fruit produced in Kenya.
Despite an increased demand for macadamia in the international market and Kenya exporting 98% of our macadamia produce, farmers are yet to fully benefit from the crop. The Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization says poor quality macadamia exports have driven down Kenya's macadamia prices in the international market. The high prices of macadamia seedlings that cost about 500 shillings has seen farmers recycle low-yielding seedlings.
The farmers find it very difficult to access what you may call high-quality green planting material. And when available, it is too expensive by the reach of the farmer because only the elite or the...
To ensure farmers secure affordable high-yielding quality seeds, the Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization, in collaboration with the European Union-funded Market Access Upgrade Program, targets to train 120,000 macadamia and passion fruit farmers and value chain players in 12 counties on proper grafting techniques.
We sell our grafted material to the farmers because now these ones will be able to grow and you get your fruit and you can be able to sell your fruit for export market, which is disease-free, which is clean, which has a good color.
But we hope when we train much more nursery operators and much more of other operators in the field, we hope we can be able to bring the costs of the seedlings, because when farmers are able to access the seedlings near their place, then it becomes less of a problem.
Currently, Kenya farmers harvest 40 kilos of macadamia per tree, but high-yielding drought-resistant varieties can produce up to 300 kilos per tree. The new yellow passion fruit variety yields on average double what is harvested from the mostly grown purple variety.
Advise the farmers to source their planting material from certified nurseries. From certified nurseries, they are sure that whatever they are buying is clean planting material.
The 473.9 million shillings EU-funded markup project is earmarked to reduce farmers' cost of production and help them access international markets. Benson Rioba reporting for Channel 1 Business.
The construction of Kenya's maritime headquarters in Mombasa is now 94% complete and will be ready for occupation by August this year. Transport Chief Administrative Secretary Wavinya Ndeti says the 2 billion shillings building will house the Maritime Technology Cooperation Centre for the African region and would be a one-stop shop for Africa maritime affairs.
The construction work of the 18-story building, which started in February last year, has had several delays, mostly due to approval challenges. Initially, the government had earmarked 1.8 billion shillings as the original cost, that has since increased by 200 million shillings. However, the development is seen as a move that will help Kenya inch closer to becoming a world maritime hub.
This building is very key to the blue economy of this country, and it's a landmark building that is going to usher the new economical way in Kenya.
The Maritime Technology Cooperation Centre is one of the 5 centres in the International Maritime Organization, which is setting up across the globe.
We know we have a committee that is also dealing with the blue economy, and working all of us together, we want to make sure that now Kenyans venture into the sea to do business, not just looking at mainland.
The office complex being constructed will have an observatory level and a roof featuring a helipad, while external components of the block will include a biodigester, parking space, and entry and exit gates with a sentry box.
It has the facilities to provide for conference functions on matters addressing blue economy, and so then it's going to be a landmark in Mombasa, provide how we can be able to deal with the water issues, safety, security in the waters, the capacity building for our seafarers.
The headquarters will house a number of government agencies set up to deliver a sustainable blue economy. Alan Aoko, Channel 1 Business.
Salam African Bank of Djibouti has completed the acquisition of shareholding of Uwezo Microfinance Bank Limited. The Central Bank of Kenya says the acquisition will see Uwezo Bank reorganize itself in the microfinance banking industry with a new business model and financial muscle.
The acquisition is expected to see Uwezo Microfinance Bank possibly improve its market share, which currently stands at 0.45% of the microfinance banking industry. The buyer, Salam African Bank of Djibouti, was established in 2007 and is currently in Kenya through an investment bank licensed by the Capital Markets Authority. It was granted approval to upgrade to a nationwide microfinance bank in December 2015. Uwezo Microfinance Bank was ranked 10 out of 14 microfinance banks as at March this year. Elsewhere, 60% of retirees saw their expenses increase, with the majority of them saying their expenses rose up by up to 50% as a result of the negative economic effects of COVID-19. According to a report by NWealth Financial Services and Strathmore University, most retired Kenyans have turned to loans to meet their personal expenses and support loved ones who had lost jobs or businesses.
For a long time, pension funds have been investing in actual physical real estate. And this has its challenges. Now, one of the key challenges is the level of illiquidity of this asset. So if, for instance, a pension fund has invested, say, 30% or 40% in real estate, and they have a major exit of staff, to really liquidate that real estate becomes a challenge.
Coming at the time when we are in this pandemic, it has meted out unprecedented human, economic, and social costs, and it's also been quite persistent. So, these findings will still be relevant going forward because some of these issues are still with us, even as we see some recovery.
Finally, Equity Group has partnered with Kipipiri constituency to support farmers and institutions in planting 60,000 tree seedlings in Nyandarua County as part of Equity's 35 million trees tree planting initiative. The initiative is aligned to Kenya's Big Four agenda on food security, and a majority of the trees planted will be fruit and medicinal trees.
Tree planting is quite important in our daily lives. Na nimeshukuru sana wakati tulifika hapa tukaona mko watu wengi sana. Kwa hivyo hata nyinyi mmeshikilia hii maneno.
Wakasema watasaidiana na sisi. Tukipanda miti na wao pia wana haja ya kupanda miti na sisi tunahitaji miti. So tukaona zote tunaelekea pamoja.
Well, on to international business news, where Qantas has announced new cost-cutting measures to help it deal with the impact of the coronavirus pandemic. The Australian carrier projects it would report an annual loss before tax of more than $1.5 billion. Details of these and others in our international business news roundup.
Qantas' debt pile had peaked and was likely to fall as domestic travel was on track to hit pre-pandemic levels. The Australian carrier said its international division was losing about $2.3 million a week, down from $3.9 million last month. Its latest cost-cutting plans include a 2-year wage freeze, slashing travel agents' commissions for international flights, and offering voluntary redundancies to cabin crew in its international business. The airline has pushed back the sale of international tickets, with the exception of New Zealand, to December, after the Australian government said it was unlikely to open its borders to widespread travel until the middle of next year. Elsewhere, Colonial Pipeline has confirmed it paid a $4.4 million ransom to the cyber criminal gang responsible for taking the U.S. fuel pipeline offline. The firm CEO, Joseph Blouin, told the Wall Street Journal that he authorized the payment on 7th of May because of uncertainty over how long the shutdown will continue. The 8,900-kilometer pipeline carries 2.5 million barrels a day, which is 45% of the East Coast supply of diesel, petrol, and jet fuel. Blouin told the newspaper that the firm decided to pay the ransom after discussions with experts who had previously dealt with Darkside, the criminal organization behind the attack. Finally, the CEO and co-founder of TikTok's owner, ByteDance, has announced he will step down and transition to a new role by the end of the year. In a letter to employees, Zhang Yiming said he will be succeeded by fellow co-founder Rubo Liang, saying that his successor, Rubo Liang, has been an invaluable partner, developing the firm's technology as well as hiring and managing employees. The move marks the biggest shakeup at the Chinese technology giant since its launch almost a decade ago. The letter says the change in leadership will take place over the next 6 months to ensure a smooth transition.
Sasa, hii ng'ombe ni yako.
Asante. Hii ng'ombe itatoa maziwa mengi kabisa. Sasa shida ya school fees imeisha. Jen, chukua hii. Hebu nikuulize, hii maneno nasikia ya bima ya elimu inaweza kuwa namna gani mtu anachukua?
Process ya kuchukua insurance cover yote ni rahisi. Hata niko na cover ya gari yangu. Kwanza, unajaza proposal form kama hii na uijaze wewe mwenyewe. Na kama haujui kusoma, uijaze na mtu unayemwamini. Hakikisha ile majibu umepatiana ni sahihi na ni ya kweli. Pia thibitisha insurance cover imeangalia maslahi yako. Na usiwahi sign proposal form ambayo haijaandikwa kitu chochote. Pia ukumbuke kujitolea photocopy yako.
Oh, sasa wacha nianze hiyo process.
By the way, ukisubmit hiyo proposal form, uhakikishe umepatiwa policy document. Uisome na uielewe. Hiyo ndio thibitisho ya kuwa una bima.
Asante sana.
Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na IRA.
Next on.
No, he has something to do with abnormal blood.
High blood pressure caused by this woman right here.
Toka uende.
I come in peace.
Ebu mwambie atoke aende.
You can't go to prison for helping me.
Na ujue ukienda hiyo jela, mimi na wewe.
Ni mara mwisho kuchapia na Glenn. Ilikuwa ile time alikuwa amenipea Iran ni Iran.
Eric, is there something you're not telling me?
This time next year, it'll be a different Kamau. You're gonna pay for this. Every single one of you.
On now to the corridors of justice, where a state witness from the Kenya Bureau of Standards officer was on Thursday taken to task to explain why some senior officials at KEBS allowed the release of 5,800 tons of compound fertilizer to the public without proper safety analysis. The fertilizer, which was found to contain excess mercury, was allegedly released in Narok and Eldoret.
The hearing involving 5 top Kenya Bureau of Standard officials who include Charles Ogega Ongwae, Eric Tesire Kipto, Peter Kinyanjui Ndungu, Martin Mwiswanyo Nyakiamo and Paul Mwangeni continued on Thursday morning before Principal Magistrate Kennedy Cheriot at the Milimani Law Courts. The 5 are separately facing 11 charges that on the diverse dates of 13th of November 2017 and 7th of June 2018, with others not before court are charged with intent to unlawfully cause the death of persons residing in Narok and Eldoret areas for allegedly unlawfully releasing 5,846,000 kilograms of substandard compound fertilizer, which contained excessive mercury mineral as substance that endangers life. Other charges include aiding the commission of a felony, willful disobedience of Standards Act, abuse of office and breach of trust. During the hearing, the third witness, Anthony Irungu, will tell the court that samples needed for investigations of the case will have to be traced before confirming if they were destroyed. More witnesses are expected to testify, with the hearing scheduled to continue on the 2nd of June this year. For Channel 1 News, I'm Serafina Robbie.
From the corridors of justice to the counties where police in Busia County are investigating the cause of a fire that destroyed property at the St. Teresa of Calcutta Township Secondary School in Teso South. The fire is reported to have sparked off at the administrative block, burning down learning materials along with school's administration records. Elsewhere, members of the Isahakia community in Naivasha are accusing the National Lands Commission of failing to facilitate their settlement as directed by the President 5 years ago.
This is the aftermath of a fire outbreak at Township Secondary School in Teso South. The fire, which is reported to have started at 8 p.m. on Wednesday night at the head teacher's office, spread to the adjacent deputy head teacher's office, raising down learning materials and other crucial administration records.
Siku ya leo nilipokuwa na principals nikawaomba ya kwamba kama kuna wale wako na excess textbooks, kwa sababu shule nyingi zilikuwa na excess textbooks, walipopatiwa na wizara ya elimu waweze kuchangia ili shule hiyo iweze kuendelea.
In Nakuru County, 5 years after the order was issued for the resettlement of Isahakia community in Naivasha, the National Land Commission is on the spot for allegedly failing to implement the directive. The Isahakia community alleges that some unscrupulous officers at the National Land Commission have instead abused the opportunity to award themselves and other wealthy individuals.
Lakini sio wazungu graba. Sasa huyu anajenga, si ajenga akae, anauza. Sasa inajengwa ili iuzwe. Na sisi wenye hiyo ardhi hatuna. Kitu tunalia kwa rais yetu. Ajue National Land Commission ni kama wanafanya kusudi kudelay igrabiwe. Sasa we don't know the truth. Kwa maana wale wa mbele walidelay hivyo, ardhi yote ikaenda. Na sasa bado inaendelea ikienda. Tutaongoja paka lini?
Meanwhile, Taita Taveta County government is set to establish a coast region training base specializing in highway technology. The project, which is being implemented in partnership with Kenya Institute of Highways Building Technology and the World Bank, is aimed at transforming the sector to a regional flagship technical and vocational education training institute.
We shall be a center whereby contractors, county officials, engineers, professionals in the sector can come in for training in identified disciplines that are required or needed by the market. So it shall also be a center that will be responsive to the needs of the region.
In Kiambu County, Ruiru Town is set to receive a major facelift after the government commenced the carpeting of roads that have been in a deplorable state for years. The government, through the Kenya Urban Roads Authority and Kenya National Highways Authority, will also recarpet the 16.8-kilometer Ruiru Kiambu Road. Kevin Washira, Channel 1 News.
Time now for sports, where defending champions Gor Mahia trounced host Sofapaka 2-1 in their rescheduled FKF Premier League match played in Wundanyi, Taita Taveta County. This was Gor Mahia's third consecutive win and act as a relief after a poor season run in the earlier fixtures.
Uganda import Tito Okello gave Kogalo the lead in the first half, while Titus Achesa equalized for Batoto Bamungu. Gor Mahia scored the winner in the 81st minute courtesy of Alpha Onyango. The Green Army are now on level points with 5th placed Bandari FC with a game in hand. On the other side, Sofapaka remains 8th on the league with 22 points on level with Bidco United. Tusker FC currently top of the log with 37 points, 3 ahead of second placed KCB. AFC Leopards, Kariobangi Sharks and Bandari FC complete the top 5 teams on the log. Vihiga United and Mathare United are the bottom placed teams in the standings.
Well, on to basketball, where LeBron James hit an incredible three-pointer with a minute left on the clock to give the Los Angeles Lakers a 103-100 win over the Golden State Warriors and seal a 7th place finish in the Western Conference, earning the champions a place in the playoffs. Meanwhile, the Memphis Grizzlies kept their playoffs hope alive after seeing off San Antonio Spurs 196 and set up a clash against Warriors, with the winner qualifying for the season's playoffs.
To bring the fight to the fight, they was ready to fight, and we tried to, ease into the game a little bit. It's been a while since we've been in postseason. It's been a while since we had one of those type of, those energy, effort, every possession count games, and I feel like they've been playing, kind of playoff basketball for quite a while. So we had to catch up to that. But once we made the adjustment in the second half, we was able to take the fight to them and make a game out of it.
Stains and Ja Morant added 20 for the Grizzlies.
Vassell out of Florida State had it blocked. Great recovery twice. Kyle Anderson got the second one, and he's calling for his teammates, saying, "Where were you guys?"
Lead Mark Jones.
Yeah, they stopped on the play. Into the paint, that floater.
While DeMar DeRozan and Rudy Gay scored 20 points apiece for San Antonio, which will miss the playoffs for the second straight campaign. The winner between the Grizzlies and the Warriors will land the number 8 seed in the Western Conference playoff bracket and face the top-seeded Utah Jazz in the first round of the playoffs on Sunday.
A beautiful three-pointer there from King LeBron James. While Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp has likened his side's victory at Burnley to winning a semi-final that takes them to Sunday's final against Crystal Palace and the chance to qualify for next season's Champions League. Meanwhile, Tottenham's hope of securing European football were dented as Aston Villa came from behind to claim a deserved Premier League 2-1 victory at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, with the English Premier League 2020-2021 season coming to an end on Sunday.
The Champions League spot, level on point with 5th place Leicester City, and with a goal difference of 4.
Well, and that we come to the end of Business Insight today. Thank you so very much indeed for your time. Remember, Inside Government is coming up next. About 2 weeks ago, Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu visited Kenya, and top on the discussion was how to re-energize the East African community and how to deepen intra-regional trade. I had a sit down with the peers at the State Department of East African Community, Dr. Kevit Desai, and I asked him this question: is there a future for East African community? Well, wait for the answer that is coming up shortly. Otherwise, from me and the rest of the team, thank you for your time. Have a good day.
Vera Beauty College.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College, with branches in Nairobi, Eldoret, Thika, and Meru. Did you know that we are a TVET approved institution? We offer courses in fashion design, interior design in soft furnishing, event decoration, flower arrangement, event planning, hairdressing, barbering and dreadlocks, beauty therapy, makeup, nail technology, spa massages, teaching skills, TOT, solo business management, and many more. Register now and visit our website on www.verabeautycollege.com. You can also call on 0725 923 550 Nairobi branch, 0728 087 689 Eldoret branch, 0722 227428 Thika branch, 0725 000 706 Meru branch. Vera Beauty and Fashion College, a TVET approved institution.
Jumapili hii kwenye runinga ya KBC, ungana naye Askofu Michael Wanderi wa kanisa la Christian Foundation Fellowship Kiambu kuanzia saa 1 hadi saa 2 asubuhi.
Ningetaka nikwambie, our Jehovah God, because the Bible says he is the same yesterday, today and forevermore. He is able to take you to a place of abundance. He is able to take you to Rehoboth in the name of Jesus Christ.
Kipindi ni neno la neema, ukiletewa naye Askofu Michael Wanderi wa kanisa la Christian Foundation Fellowship Kiambu. Usikose.
Tunakupa burudani
na umbea, yani stories zinazo trend kwenye mitandao ya kijamii.
See baby, now we are two in one. We are two in one. Interview kali za wasanii wapendao. Mguu pande panda milima, aoye izungushie hapo ma. Kama
ndani ya March of Live kupitia KBC Channel 1 na Pwani FM.
Kuanzia mida ya saa 3 mpaka mida ya 5 kamili asubuhi. Ukiwa nami ni Teken 1GB.
Mimi ni Marco. Keep it locked.
Well, since the year 1999, when the new East African community was formed, there has been a lot of optimism and hope that finally the East African community will hold together for the longest time. Of course, there has been disagreements here and there, but the question is, how do we move forward as a community, and how do we deepen interactions and integration? Well, to help us with this discussion is the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of East African Community, that is Dr. Kevit Desai. this will be our discussion plus more. Thank you very much indeed for finding time to be with us. This discussion we are having here is coming at a time when, Kenya and Uganda, they look like they have renewed the areas of cooperation, like they have established a new engagement platform with the recent visit by the president. What do you make of this?
I think it's been very successful, very promising by way of some of the pronouncements that have been said, and indeed activity already on the ground, with respect to addressing issues that were concerned, like sugar imports into Kenya, but most importantly the ability for us to create mechanisms now going forward to have consistent bilateral dialogue. And this indeed really is supportive and facilitative of the overall EAC region with respect to ensuring that as much efficiencies are there within the common market, the customs union, the monetary union, all with a view of ensuring that as a bloc we stand to gain more by way of ensuring that we promote greater intra-trade between ourselves, promoting greater value chains for export purposes, and having a position, a platform in order to invest heavily in opportunities for external value addition in view of the growing consumption across the globe in certain areas like agriculture, where developing countries are consuming more than 60 to 70% of their produce from external sources. So this promotes the opportunity for us to build upon these relationships with the view of a value proposition and a co-beneficial relationship which supports aspirations of industrialization, prosperity, development, and so on.
Mm-hmm. And when you look at the East African community, it's made up of 6 members. At some point, it was billed as one of the fastest integrating bloc in the world. But since it was reformed again back in 1999, intra-regional trade still stands at 15%. SME's contribution to the regional economy, is less than 25%. What exactly is not happening? How do we deepen, integration or trade and integration among members?
The 4 pillars, for example, the customs union, the ability for us to establish one-stop border posts which promote greater efficiency by way of goods crossing partner states. These are fully integrated custom systems which have all the different agencies like security and health all fully integrated together with the tax structures. And that harmonization then promotes greater levels of throughput of goods. And so what was taking, a day to clear now takes, an hour or so. And in terms of movement of people, it's usually less than 10 to 15 minutes. So this has greatly contributed to the overall development of trade between partner states, in particular the trade which is sustained from abroad and into countries. We've seen exceptional efforts even in these COVID-19 times to keep the borders open, and this is primarily because of a consensus between states to promote a multi-agency effort. Partner states have brought ministries together to ensure that they've had to address all the hindrances, thereby promoting not only the international standards with respect to health protocol within the partner states, but now going on to facilitating by way of driver applications which enable certificates to be verified online, and now even an e-health pass which promotes greater levels of productivity for drivers to cross across opportunities. Efforts have been put in place by way of the consolidation of the single customs territory, the efforts towards ensuring that NTBs are addressed. In the year 2020, 16 NTBs were addressed. Further to that, mechanisms are being developed in order to be more efficient in the way NTBs are approached. In this sort of environment that is absolutely dependent on consensus, it's dependent on ensuring that EAC consistently and progressively develops those 4 pillars of, the common market, the customs union, the political federation, and the monetary union, all with the balance of ensuring that we are a value proposition for investment and further development. What determines investment is the market indeed, the standards that are clarified by way of ensuring that there's not only predictability but the ability for people to invest in attaining those standards, and then the promise of that market once attained. And I think that you're beginning to see this within the EAC by way of value chains that attract greater levels of investment and cooperation. The complex world of business depends on a very close link between the productive sector, the farmers, as well as the public sector, in order to ensure that we are able to not only align but promote greater levels of integration towards these common efforts. Yeah. Within that context, we've seen many projects being invested on within the EAC, from 728 projects in 2018 to almost 1,500 projects. And most of these projects are dedicated towards common areas of markets and manufacturing and other key areas. So indeed, this platform that we see is promising from all perspectives.
It's obvious. I mean, there's no way as a bloc you're going to grow if there's suspicion among member states, and we have seen a situation whereby countries are blocking or closing their boundaries to other countries. For example, in the case of Uganda and Rwanda, we have also seen a situation whereby Tanzania is restricting the movement of Kenyan business people into Tanzania. And so how should these issues be addressed to ensure that yes, when you look at the 7 priority areas for 2017 to 2021, it talks about enhancing the free movement of people, but when on the ground, I mean, somehow things are completely different. So how do you ensure that all the 6 member states they read from the same script and they act accordingly?
The demand is there because with respect to free movement of people, because it promotes technical expertise to access different markets. And we need to question currently our current status, which is on average within the partner states contribute by approximately 9.7% to GDP as far as manufacturing is concerned. The astonishing figures which are of great concern include the fact that we only trade between ourselves at 15%, that only 20% is extended as far as the MSME sector is concerned within partner states as far as trade and services. All of this shows the lost potential, and a lot depends on people, because it's people and human capital that develop industries, promote services, promote trade and commerce. And within this context, while the EAC has managed to formalize and regulate the areas of qualifications at upper levels of doctorates and engineers and so on, one of the areas that we are embarking on is the recognition of qualifications for artisans, craftsmen, master craftsmen and technicians. And what will this do? Well, by the nature of ensuring that qualifications are dependent on standards, then it'll promote greater competitiveness and an ability to ensure that people and EAC citizens would be judged on merit based on their occupational standard. And I think that this is the way forward in order to deter any kind of ill feeling with respect to certain communities getting jobs or countries getting jobs as opposed to others. It's the ability to collectively agree on the standards, to understand and appreciate that the standard prevails in economic development, and for the larger amplification for all to prosper. And it's from this perspective that the occupational standards that we develop would be also to an international potential, with the view of ensuring that the mobility is not only restricted within the EAC but also within the African Free Trade Area and into the global arena. That capability is now worthwhile as far as investment is concerned, because when you look at 150 million people, the majority of them being young, it is a demographic dividend that is a value proposition for investment as far as skills development, science, technology, innovation and research. And I think that within this context we have a chance within the EAC to ensure that it's drivers like technology, science and skills that really help us leapfrog from where we are into a platform which is highly equitable, promotes greater equality and ensures that all have the possibility by way of their skills and their preparation to join industry.
And when you look at the bloc, I mean, with a combined GDP of almost 180 billion US dollars, where Kenya is a dominant economy, with almost 110 billion US dollars worth of an economy, then how do you create a platform where one country like Kenya is not viewed by others, with a smaller economy like South Sudan, for example, as a country that is likely to overrun, for example, their industries, their businesses, because of its advancement in the areas?
Well, indeed, what the aspirations of various partner states are common by way of promoting greater levels of industrialization, the ability to be people-centric, for the EAC to permeate to all the EAC citizens, the ability for us to ensure that we promote greater security and health, as well as cooperation within the agricultural space in view of the extended markets and opportunities that exist. And it's within the context of these aspirations that the EAC institution and the treaty then tries to establish a fabric and a framework to promote this integration. And the way we would see it going forward is that indeed consistently the ability for us to ensure that markets are developed and accessible throughout the EAC is really a precursor to equity of access by partner states, and the value proposition for them to keep investing in a much larger market space, the ability for us to create links as a bloc as far as EAC is concerned with other international blocs like the European Union through the EPAs, or the ASEAN bloc, or the trading bloc between the United States and East Africa is absolutely critical. And I think that these are the sort of larger opportunities that come when we are able to optimize and collectively ensure that we collaborate and integrate by nature of our systems and promote the necessary structures from a systematic perspective of ensuring that we harmonize policies, legislations, regulations, standards, infrastructure, the ability to promote greater coordination, to the extent that a citizen from the East African community doesn't feel misplaced, that the economy is open to all and opportunities are amplified and extended to all. To illustrate further, a young person from Tanzania building a ship in Mombasa, for example, or a farmer from Nyeri being able to know that his harvest can be traded all the way into Congo. And it's that ability for us to create systems and create that ecosystem, which may not exist by way of our current status, but into the future holds every promise for us to invest as a community, as citizens, to establish this ecosystem.
Yep. And we have seen a situation whereby some member states have gotten into trade agreements with countries outside the bloc. For example, in the case of Kenya, just the other day they signed a trade agreement with the United Kingdom after leaving the European Union. There are also discussions, trade discussions between Kenya and the United States that are still ongoing. And this has somehow ruffled or made some member states, to feel uncomfortable because they're supposed to trade as a bloc. But when you remember that, Kenya also went ahead and signed, the economic partnership agreement because some countries, within the bloc were delaying. So how do you remove this kind of feelings like some members are betraying others? And at the same time, how do you ensure that if a country is willing to move ahead because the others are delaying, they can do so as well?
Within the treaty, there's a scope to ensure that you bring this to the attention of the Council and inform them of the opportunity. And as such, Kenya has made great efforts to ensure that a flexible arrangement exists so that, at a later date, a country that may not be ready at that particular time has a chance of joining. I think that within this context, this is a positive feature within the context of partner states as they come to consensus and agreement on areas of specialization in industry and service sectors, and in time to come promotes that ability to further aggregate by their presence. And I think that it should not be viewed really as something that's totally independent, but interdependent. And so if certain partner states are at a certain level, they must take advantage of an opportunity with a view of ensuring that they inform other partner states like we did as Kenya, but at the same time ensuring that they also negotiate a far more flexible opportunity for further partnership to join such agreements. And I think that the important opportunity here is that when we negotiate as a bloc, we come out much stronger. We're able to address and promote our own standards, and at the same time ensure that we're able to gain greater value by way of the way we negotiate for export and import.
Let's talk about the Monetary Union, which was signed back in the year 2013, and countries were given a grace period of about 10 years, before they can start creating or creating a common currency in the region. We are now in 2021. There has been not a lot of discussion towards these. Are you convinced that the common currency is likely to come into force in 2 years' time?
The Monetary Union too is a very essential pillar by way of ensuring further access and ease. What shape it takes is something that we're yet to determine. Indeed, various protocols as well as institutions have been developed, like the East African Monetary Institute is in the process of being developed, all with a view of ensuring that we create the necessary policy, legislation and the regulatory environment for something like this to take place. On one hand, there's a lot of progress and the aspiration is intact fully, and we hope to make considerable progress in the next year by way of further structures and frameworks being developed. On the other hand, we can see that increasingly more and more is becoming digitalized as far as monetary efforts, and this innovation and technology will also be an opportunity for further combination and collaboration towards that same end. Kenya still promotes greater levels of financial investment within the EAC by way of banks as well as insurance companies, and capacities therein, to play a more significant role as a financial hub for both lending as well as other kinds of opportunities based on financial systems. We recently heard the overwhelming success of economic trade based on remittances by M-Pesa and other forms of transactions that take place. So within that context, there's potential for great diversity in by way of ensuring that we're able to create that fabric of collaboration.
Mm-hmm. And Kenya is now the current chair of the East African Community. What should we seek to achieve, by the time the tenure of the current head comes to a close?
We have, in many ways, already laid tremendous frameworks. Our investment as far as transport is concerned has been exceptional. The interconnectivity of systems, the multimodal transport systems from the coast all the way inland through various mechanisms, whether it's the SGR, the investment in roads, the investment in shipping systems within Lake Victoria and ports, are all an investment to promote greater interconnectivity within the EAC region. Similarly, the road network is expanded, and through the EAC's decision-making process and strategic process, more and more structures are being created. The ability for us to connect is absolutely critical. The ability for us to lead by way of our existing capacity as far as manufacturing is concerned, to create interdependent value chains where we're not simply dependent on produce coming in to the factory, but we take a step further to ensure that we manage the entire value chain from farm gate to processing, and in particular to ensure the quality of inputs, the health of the inputs, and the ability to ensure that farm level productivity is increased to the benefit of manufacturing prowess, thereby creating an end-to-end ecosystem. That cooperation in agriculture is essential in view of the huge potential as far as exports are concerned. The possibility that these agricultural value chains have a very unique advantage in that they create a backward and forward linkage, which means that they're able to be accessible by all and the return felt by all citizens within the EAC community. The important role of labour movement and the recognition of qualifications and skills and experience is an important area and could create great dividends, as we witnessed in the hospitality sector, where Kenyans are well known within the East Africa to run hotels and other entertainment structures, but extending that as much as possible so that we're able to complement on other skills and capacities. And indeed, the promotion of social and cultural interactions, the cooperation we have in various other social spheres with respect to science and technology and innovation on cross-sectoral issues like the locust invasion. And all of this will have an effect by way of ensuring that we all realize in a very short time and increasingly promote that compassion of the importance of integration by way of the outcomes that it promotes.
What is the future of regional integration? I mean, bearing in mind that the European Union, one of the biggest members, one of the dominant economies, the United Kingdom, decided to part ways, on the grounds that it was becoming a weaker nation, in the bloc.
Well, that trend internationally has, of course, created great concern, and especially with respect to the imbalance that they felt, which resulted in Brexit. And some of the key areas that we need to be on the lookout for, their aversion towards foreign labour within the United Kingdom, their ability for manufacturing, and the feeling that manufacturing had been outsourced abroad. Within that context, there are very many dynamic and unique situations which essentially are very much part and parcel of that decision making. Our situation is highly different in the sense that, that there's opportunity all around us. There is the potential that, and the realization that as individual partner states, we're not able to have enough of a market or opportunity to increase the investment or to promote the diversification that's needed in different state sectors. So that ability to work together as a bloc becomes absolutely critical, promotes the self-reliance, promotes the overall inclusivity, and ensures that, trade, commerce and industry supports the overall development of the economic bloc. Further to that, we have a growing opportunity within the continental free trade area, the African free trade area, and that creates further opportunities for volumes and quality products and standards, and to tap into what's already happening currently by way of ensuring that we turn the tide of intra-trade from 15% well into the 90% area, where we're able to be self-sufficient, self-reliant, and essentially promoters of value addition based on the market that exists, the rise of the middle class, the ability to work our resources to our advantage.
Finally, where do you see the East African community in the next 10 years?
Well, the aspirations of the EAC with respect to the customs union, the common market, the political federation, and indeed, the monetary union would be at such an advanced stage that it would be greatly inclusive to more EAC citizens as far as their wealth creation and prosperity is concerned. And that is a target that we are looking at consistently. How do we ensure that it progressively increases the opportunity structures for all EAC citizens? So in 10 years, we'd hope that 100% of EAC citizens feel the benefit of the EAC and its programs, its policies. And indeed, we're at a stage where we're able to promote that cooperation and collaboration as efficiently as possible for greater value addition as well as aggregation of opportunity. And I think that at that stage, it would have achieved, most of its objective and be in a phase where it would be looking at transformation as opposed to the building structures that are now taking place by way of all the mechanisms and structures being put in place and the constant engagement and consensus that it's developing in order to keep all partner states all integrated and fully appreciated of the powerful extent that it has.
Thank you very much indeed for finding time to be with us on Inside Government, and all the best.
Thank you.
Very good. Well, we have been talking to Dr. Kevit Desai. He's the Principal Secretary, Ministry of East African Community, of course joining us to help us understand what's happening within the bloc. And according to him, regional integration is the way to go. Very optimistic that in the next 10 years, the EAC will be much more integrated and will be a force to reckon with, not only here in Africa, but around the world. You have been watching Inside Government. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Always a pleasure to have you. We do this again on Thursday at the same time, right here on KBC Channel 1. Have a good night.
On the next episode of Little Daddy.
Your son has quite an imagination. Okay, everyone, let's continue our class.
Mum, what's the matter? He's been out all day, he's tired. Let him go home to rest.
You can wait. I've got something important to ask him. Come on in.
Never ever say I'm a superhero again. Do you hear me?
Why not?
Stop asking why, kiddo. Just do as I say.
Why not?
Because I'm your father!
This proves you don't know me.
All right, then, you tell me. What kind of woman do you really want?
Next on.
No, he has something to do with abnormal blood.
High blood pressure. caused by this woman right here.
Toka uende. I come in peace. Ebu mwambie atoke aende. You can't go to prison for helping me.
Na ujue ukienda hiyo jela, mimi na wewe.
Ni mara mwisho kuchapia na Glenn. Ilikuwa ile time alikuwa amenipea ni run.
Eric, is there something you're not telling me?
This time next year, it'll be a different Kamau. You're gonna pay for this. Every single one of you.
Tunakupa burudani.
Na umbea, yani stories zinazo trend kwenye mitandao ya kijamii.
See baby, now we are two in one. We are two in one. Interview kali za wasanii wapendao.
Mguu pande panda milima, aoye izungushie hapo ma kama una
Ndani ya March of Life kupitia KBC Channel 1 na Pwani FM.
Kuanzia mida ya saa 3 mpaka mida ya 5 kamili asubuhi. Ukiwa nami ni Teken 1GB.
Mimi ni Marco. Keep it locked.
Malewa. Yeah. Isemeka wana for daddy.
The WHO asks Israel to halt its bombardment of Gaza to allow aid as the UN meets to discuss the raging conflict. Hesitation slows uptake of coronavirus vaccines in Africa as experts fear the Indian variant could overwhelm the continent. And Lake Victoria floodwaters displace hundreds of people in Uganda. Hello and welcome. You're watching Africa Live. We're coming to us from Nairobi. I'm Hannah Vivier. Here with the latest in business. It's Rama.
Thank you very much, Hannah. Here's what's coming up in the course of the hour. South Africa's Monetary Policy Committee holds its policy rate unchanged despite a rise in inflation. And Tunisia's unemployment rate is now close to 18% in the first quarter of 2021. We'll have the data on those stories and plenty more coming your way in the course of the hour. For now, let's start with the latest in current affairs with Hannah.
Thanks for that, Rama. We'll see you in a bit. We begin the news hour with the World Health Organization calling on Israel to halt its bombardment of Gaza to allow aid to a devastated health system. It says a United Nations convoy is ready to take humanitarian staff and aid into Gaza if Israel allows it to get through. The aid includes COVID testing equipment and 10,000 doses of the Sinopharm vaccine. Israel's attacks continue for an 11th day with more than 100 airstrikes in the north of Gaza early on Thursday. 230 Palestinians have been killed so far and 12 people have been killed in Israel. Emily Rose, an Israeli journalist in Tel Aviv, has more.
If we look at the media reports and what the Israeli government and military has been saying in the past 24 hours, they say that they're insistent on continuing the fighting until they've achieved all of their military goals. But if we look at the background, it seems to be that there's extreme pressure on the Israeli prime minister, particularly from President Joe Biden, who expressed, and this is according to Israeli media reports, that he sees and expects the fighting to end within the next couple of days. So now Hebrew media is reporting that we could see a ceasefire between the two sides by Friday, that is within the next 24 hours. Though I do have to caution here that even just in the past few hours, we have seen rocket siren alerts across the Israeli southern towns, sending residents running for bomb shelters, and heavy bombardment and tit-for-tat clashes on both sides. So if there's a ceasefire in the works, it's so far just behind closed doors. It's not being felt by the sides on the ground.
The UN's General Assembly has been debating the conflict after the U.S. repeatedly blocked action in the Security Council. China currently holds the presidency of the UN Security Council and has been pushing for a statement calling for a ceasefire.
As the rotating host of the Security Council, China sees the response to the current Palestine-Israel conflict as its top priority. State Councillor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi chaired the emergency public meeting of the Security Council on the conflict, where he put forward China's views and propositions. China has made every effort to push for a unanimous action on this issue within the Security Council. But due to obstruction from the United States, the Council has not reached an agreement so far.
The Chinese government's Middle East envoy Jai Jun spoke on the phone with officials from both Palestine and Egypt on efforts to end the hostilities. Beijing has called for an immediate ceasefire and says it is committed to a Palestinian state alongside Israel. Jai is also expected to speak with officials from Israel, Russia, the United Nations and the European Union. Meanwhile, CGTN correspondent Nur Harisin interviewed Fawzi Barhoum, the spokesperson of Hamas. He talked about Hamas's stance on current situation.
What is the current position of Hamas in the Gaza Strip regarding this continuous military escalation?
We are in a state of self-defense and responding to this aggression in order to protect the children of Palestine, the children of Gaza, and civilians from the Israeli occupation. The battle is still at its most intense. There is continuous Israeli aggression, and on the other hand, there is a resistance that seeks to defend the people and protect women, children, and elderly from this aggression.
Can you tell us what is the latest development regarding the ceasefire, and will Hamas agree to conclude a truce with Israel now?
The truce or ceasefire is considered a rest for the enemy in order to renew their bombing and aggression. But we want to end this aggression against the Palestinian people completely in all its forms. There is no equivalent force. So this is a unilateral aggression. And the resistance with its tools and missiles works to repel the aggression and protect our land and our holy sites from any Israeli aggression.
Let's now turn our attention to the COVID-19. The Malawian Health Ministry says it has destroyed close to 20,000 AstraZeneca vaccine doses from the COVAX facility. The vaccines are said to have expired 18